The night was quiet, cold, and calm. Jack was lying in bed, staring at the ceiling of his small cabin in the forest. The only sound was the wind brushing against the trees outside. Suddenly, there was a loud crash, followed by a strange shaking of the ground. It was like something big had fallen from the sky. He jumped out of bed, grabbed his flashlight, and rushed outside. The stars were still shining above, but something was burning at the edge of his field. Smoke was rising from the broken part of his old barn. He ran toward it without thinking, heart pounding in his chest. When he reached the barn, he saw a round metallic pod stuck in the ground, steaming and glowing with soft blue lights. Jack stepped closer, confused and afraid. Then, with a hiss, the pod opened, and something moved inside. He stepped back, gripping his flashlight tight. Out of the pod, a girl climbed out. Not a human girl, at least, not fully. She had silver blue hair, skin that sparkled slightly, and strange glowing rings around her eyes. She looked around, coughed a little, and then looked at Jack. Then, she said, in perfect English, "Do you have anything funny to eat?" Jack blinked, confused. "What?" "I came for humor," she said again, brushing hay off her shiny jumpsuit. "And food, but mostly humor." Jack stared at her for a long second, then laughed nervously. "Okay," he said, "either I'm dreaming, or I just met an alien with a weird taste in snacks." She tilted her head, then smiled. "Dreams are not this cold." Jack noticed her shivering. So he pointed toward the house. "Come inside," he said, still not sure if this was real or a crazy night. Inside the cabin, he gave her a blanket, and she sat on the couch. She looked at everything like it was new: his coffee table, his TV, even his cat. "Is that a joke animal?" she asked, pointing to the cat. "It looks angry and soft." Jack chuckled. "That's just Muffin. He's always like that." The alien girl looked at Muffin and said, "He looks like the grumpy king of small kingdoms." Jack burst out laughing. "Okay, you are kind of funny." She smiled proudly. "I knew it," after a moment. Jack sat down across from her and asked, "Who are you, really?" She answered, "I'm Ziva, from the planet Orlac 7. I'm on a mission." "What kind of mission?" "To study humor, especially human humor," she replied. "We've been watching Earth for years. Your jokes are strange but powerful." Jack raised an eyebrow. "That's your mission, to learn jokes?" She nodded seriously. "Yes. And my teacher said the best way to learn is by crash landing near a real human." Jack shook his head, smiling in disbelief. "So let me get this straight," he said. "You flew across space to learn how to be funny?" "Yes," she said proudly. "And I have a long list of things to try, like slipping on a banana peel, making sarcasm, and dressing like a chicken." Jack laughed again. "Well, you started off strong by crashing into my barn. That was part of the plan," she said. "Surprise entrance is always funny." Jack looked at her glowing eyes and thought she didn't seem dangerous, just weird, in a good way. But something deep in his gut told him there was more to her story. He asked, "Are you sure that's the only reason you're here?" Ziva blinked, then looked away. "Mostly," she said softly. "Mostly?" She didn't answer, just reached for the hot cocoa he gave her, trying to sip it carefully. The silence between them grew heavier. Jack could tell she was hiding something. He wondered if he had made a mistake letting her in. But then she suddenly said, "Want to hear a joke?" He nodded. "Sure." She grinned, stood up and said in a serious voice, "Why did the alien fail the comedy show?" Jack shrugged. "Why?" "Because all her punchlines had no gravity," she said, and then added, "Like on the moon." He groaned. "That's terrible." She looked worried. "Was it offensive?" "No, it was just bad," he said, laughing again. "But in a good way." She seemed pleased. But behind her smile, her eyes flickered strangely. Far out in the sky, something else moved through the stars. Unknown to Jack, Ziva wasn't alone. In her mission, others were coming, and they didn't care about jokes. They were after something else, something Ziva carried without even knowing. Jack had no idea that by inviting her in, he had just stepped into the middle of something big. and dangerous, but for now, he only saw a strange girl with glowing eyes. Sipping cocoa and making alien jokes, the night was quiet again, but only on the outside. Inside that cabin, the real story had just begun. Jack didn't sleep that night. He sat on the edge of his couch, watching the strange girl sleep under a thick blanket. She looked peaceful, almost human, except for the soft glow from her skin and the strange way she curled her fingers while dreaming. Muffin the cat slept beside her, purring louder than usual, like he didn't care she was from another planet. Jack kept asking himself if he was going crazy. Aliens were real, and one of them had crashed into his life, and she was here for jokes. That part still didn't make sense. How could humor be so important to another world? And what did she mean by mostly when he asked if humor was the only reason she came? When morning came, sunlight touched her face, and Ziva slowly opened her eyes. She sat up and stretched her arms like she had done it 100 times before. "Morning, human," she said with a big yawn. "Did my punchline last night cause brain damage?" Jack raised his eyebrow. "No, but I think your delivery nearly killed me." Ziva smiled wide. "Good. Near-death laughter is the strongest kind." Jack sighed and handed her a piece of toast. "Breakfast." She stared at it for a moment, then took a bite. "Is this a joke food?" "No," he said, "just toast. Because it tastes like someone burnt sadness." Jack laughed despite himself. She had a strange way of talking, but she was entertaining, still. His thoughts went back to the pod. He decided to ask, "What happened to your ship?" Ziva frowned. "It's not a ship, it's a capsule, one-way travel only. It burned all its energy when I landed. So how were you planning to go home?" "I wasn't," she said simply. "That's why I must complete the mission fully, or they won't come pick me up." Jack blinked. "Wait, are you saying you're stuck here unless you become funny?" "Exactly," she said. "I must gather enough comedy energy to prove my worth." Jack didn't know whether to laugh or worry. It sounded too insane to be real, but she was clearly serious. He looked outside at the broken barn and the strange crater glowing faintly. Something told him that Ziva's story was only one piece of a bigger puzzle, and puzzles made him nervous. Ziva suddenly stood up, brushing crumbs off her jumpsuit. "Today," she said proudly, "I shall perform my first public prank." Jack looked alarmed. No, hold on, what kind of prank?" "One involving humans, misunderstandings, and possibly a fake chicken." Jack groaned. "You'll get arrested." Ziva grinned. "That's part of the fun." He shook his head, grabbed his coat, and said, "Fine, but I'm coming with you." She tilted her head. "Is this because you're interested or because you don't trust me?" "Both," he said, grabbing his keys. "And because I really want to see how this turns out." The small town near the forest was just waking up. Shops were opening. People were drinking coffee. And the sky was bright blue. Ziva walked confidently. In the middle of the street, wearing a hoodie Jack gave her, she had drawn a fake mustache on her face with a marker. Jack was already regretting this. She spotted a fruit stand and walked up to the vendor. "I'd like 1 banana, please," she said with a serious tone. The vendor smiled and handed her one. Ziva looked at it, nodded, and dropped it on the ground. Then she loudly said, "Oh no, I slipped," and flopped onto the street in the most dramatic way possible. Nobody laughed, people just stared. One kid giggled, but his mother pulled him away quickly. Ziva looked at Jack while lying on the ground. "Why didn't they laugh?" "Because they thought you were injured," Jack said, helping her up. "That's not how pranks work here." She pouted. Humor is harder than expected. They sat on a bench near the fountain. Ziva looked frustrated for the first time. "Since they met, I studied thousands of clips," she said quietly. "Old Earth movies, clown videos, falling people. I thought I understood it." Jack was quiet for a moment, then said, "Maybe you're trying too hard." Ziva looked at him, confused. "Sometimes the best jokes aren't planned, they just happen," she sighed. "But what if I fail? What if they don't come back for me?" Before Jack could answer, a strange Sound came from her wrist device. She looked down and froze. A red blinking symbol flashed across the screen. Jack leaned closer. "What is that?" Ziva didn't answer at first. Then she whispered, "Something is coming." Jack's stomach turned cold. Something like what? She slowly stood up, her voice serious now. "Not everyone from my planet wants humor," a soft hum began. In the air, high-pitched and growing louder, Jack looked to the sky, and for a moment, he thought he saw something moving behind the clouds. Ziva turned to him, her eyes glowing brighter than before. "I think it's time I tell you everything," she said. "No more jokes." The air grew heavier, and Jack knew whatever was coming, it wasn't funny at all. Jack's heart beat faster as the humming grew louder. The sky above the small town darkened with strange shadows moving quickly. Ziva's glowing eyes scanned the horizon, her usual playful smile gone. She held out her hand, and Jack felt a sudden chill as if invisible chains wrapped around his wrist. "We don't have much time," she said quietly. "They are coming to take me back, and they won't be happy." Jack swallowed hard, trying to understand what was happening. "Who are they?" he asked, voice shaking. "Not friends," she said. "My people are divided. Some want to bring humor and peace. Others want control and power. The ones coming now are from the dark side." A loud roar cut through the air, and Jack could see dark ships breaking through the clouds. The townspeople stopped their routines, looking up in fear and confusion. Ziva stepped forward and raised her hand. Glowing symbols appeared in the air. She whispered words Jack did not understand. But the light grew brighter and stronger. Suddenly, a shield formed around the town, sparkling like crystal, blocking the ships. Jack stared in awe. "How did you do that?" "I have powers I don't fully control," Ziva said. "Humor is only one part of me." The dark ships fired beams at the shield, but they bounced off harmlessly. Ziva looked at Jack. "I need your help," he nodded quickly. "Tell me what to do." She handed him a small device, glowing softly. "This will help me focus my power. But it needs energy from human laughter," she said. Jack laughed nervously. "Human laughter? How do we get that now?" Ziva grinned slightly. "That's where you come in." Jack stepped outside and shouted, "Everyone, tell your funniest jokes. Laugh loud." People looked confused but then started smiling and sharing jokes and stories. Laughter slowly filled the air, and Jack watched as the device in his hand grew brighter. Ziva's shield strengthened, pushing the dark ships back. One ship exploded in a flash of light, then another, but then, from the biggest ship, a figure appeared, tall and shadowy. He spoke in a deep voice. "Ziva, return to us, or face destruction." Ziva's eyes flashed. "I will not go with you," she said firmly. The figure laughed coldly. "Then the town will burn with you inside." Jack felt fear rise inside him, but he refused to back down. He looked at Ziva and said, "We fight together." She smiled. "Good, because this battle is just beginning." The dark ships circled closer, the hum growing deafening. Suddenly, the ground shook as strange creatures landed around the town. They looked like twisted versions of Ziva, but with dark eyes and sharp teeth. Jack grabbed a nearby stick and prepared to defend. Ziva moved swiftly, her hands glowing, sending waves of light to push the creatures back. But they kept coming, endless and fierce. Jack realized he needed to do more. He shouted a joke at the creatures. "Why don't aliens eat clowns?" "Because they taste funny." To his surprise, the creatures hesitated and then recoiled. Ziva laughed softly. Laughter is a weapon stronger than any beam. Together, Jack and Ziva fought side by side. Laughter and light against darkness and fear. But as the sun set, Jack knew the night would bring new dangers. And the alien girl with a strange sense of humor was more than just a visitor. She was a key to saving or destroying them all. The night air was thick with tension. Jack could feel his heart pounding as shadows flickered beyond the shield. Ziva stood beside him, her glowing eyes searching the darkness for any sign of the enemy. The town was quiet, but the danger was not gone. Suddenly, a soft voice echoed through the air, strange and cold. "Ziva, come home," it said, filled with power and threat. Jack looked around, but no one else seemed to hear it. Ziva's face tightened, her usual humor gone like a fading star. "I'm afraid they have ways to speak even through the shield," she said quietly. Jack took a deep breath. "What do they want from you?" "To force me to stop laughing," she answered. "To silence humor forever." A chill ran down Jack's spine. He didn't understand how laughter could be so dangerous, but looking at Ziva, he saw the truth in her eyes. She was fighting for more than just jokes. She was fighting for hope, for light in a dark place. The sound of footsteps approached, careful but certain. Jack grabbed a heavy branch and stepped forward, ready to protect. From the shadows, a small group emerged, humans and aliens. Ziva smiled faintly. "Friends," she whispered. "They came to help." The leader of the group was a tall woman with sharp eyes. "I'm Captain Mira," she said. "We've been watching the situation from afar." Jack nodded. "We need all the help we can get." Mira's gaze turned to Ziva. "You are more important than you know." Together, they planned through the night. Ziva taught them about her people and the power of laughter. Jack shared stories and jokes, helping the team understand the strange new weapon they had. They practiced laughing, even in fear. The sound became a shield of its own, stronger than any metal or fire. But not everyone was ready to join. Some humans looked at Ziva with fear and suspicion. Jack felt anger rise inside him. "She's here to save us, not hurt us." Ziva placed a gentle hand on his arm. Sometimes trust is the hardest joke to tell. As dawn broke, the dark ships returned, louder and more furious, but this time the town was ready. The people laughed louder, their joy echoing like thunder. Ziva's light grew brighter, filling every corner with warmth. Jack stood beside her, feeling the power of hope grow inside him. He realized the alien girl with the funny jokes was a warrior of light, and together they could change the fate of their world. The town was calm for now, but Jack knew the battle was far from over. Ziva sat by the window, her glowing eyes reflecting the rising sun. She seemed lost in thought, quieter than before. Jack wondered what secrets she still kept hidden. He decided to ask, "What made your people split like this? Why is humor so important?" Ziva looked at him and sighed. "On Auralac 7, laughter is life's energy. It connects us all, like a river flowing through time and space. But some believe that control is stronger than connection. They want power through fear, not joy. That is why they came for me." Jack nodded slowly, trying to understand. He reached out and touched her hand. "You're not alone now," she smiled softly. "I hope so." Suddenly, a sharp sound broke the quiet. An alarm from the device Ziva gave Jack. She jumped up. "They found us again." Outside, dark shapes moved closer, faster than before. Jack grabbed his coat and followed Ziva. The townspeople gathered, some ready to fight, others trembling. Ziva raised her hands and whispered words of light. But this time, the shield flickered, weak and fragile. The enemy had found a way to break through. Jack saw twisted creatures slipping past the shield's edge. He felt a surge of fear but also determination. He shouted, "Laugh! Now!" Voices rose, trembling at first. Then stronger. Laughter echoed, strange and wild. The creatures recoiled, screaming in confusion. But one slipped through and lunged at Jack. He fought back with everything he had. Ziva's light wrapped around him, protecting and healing. The battle was fierce and close. But Jack saw something new, hope growing in the eyes of his neighbors. Ziva smiled through the fight. "We can win if we keep laughing." Jack laughed despite the pain, feeling power flow through him. Together, human and alien stood strong. Their strange, simple weapon laughter was a force no darkness could conquer. The dawn brought a strange quiet over the town. Jack woke feeling the weight of the night's battle still heavy on his shoulders. Ziva was already outside, standing tall with a look of fierce determination. Her glow pulsed softly like a heartbeat. Steady and strong, Jack joined her. his eyes scanning the horizon. He wondered what plan she had next. She turned to him and said, "We need to go to the source." Jack frowned. "The source of what?" "The source of the darkness chasing me and the reason for this war." She answered, "It is deep in the mountains beyond the forest." Without hesitation, Jack agreed. They packed what little they could carry and set off through the dense trees. The forest was alive with whispers and shadows, but they moved carefully, trusting each other as they walked. Ziva shared stories of her home planet. How laughter was more than fun, it was survival. The stronger the joy, the stronger the people. She told Jack that her people's enemy wanted to steal that power and use it for control. Jack listened, fascinated and worried. The deeper they went, the darker the forest became. Strange eyes watched them from the trees. Suddenly, a figure stepped out, a tall alien. Cloaked in darkness, his eyes burned red. Full of hate and power, Ziva did not flinch. She raised her hands, light swirling around her. The dark alien laughed, cold and bitter. "You think your jokes and laughter can stop me?" He sneered. Jack stepped forward. "Maybe not, but they can make us stronger." The dark alien snarled and lunged. Ziva met him with a blast of light. Jack dodged falling debris as the battle shook the ground. Laughter bubbled up inside Jack. Small at first, then growing. He shouted a silly joke, and the light around Ziva flared brighter. The dark alien screamed in pain, retreating for a moment. Ziva looked at Jack with pride. "We can win if we never stop laughing," she said. Jack grinned. "I never thought I'd say this, but your sense of humor just saved us." They pressed on deeper into the mountains, ready for whatever came next. The mountain air was cold and sharp. Jack and Ziva climbed higher, feeling the weight of their mission with every step. The sky was darkening, shadows stretching like fingers across the rocks. Ziva's glow was brighter now, lighting their way. They reached a cave entrance, wide and deep. A low rumble echoed from inside, like the earth itself was alive. Jack took a deep breath and stepped forward. Ziva followed, whispering, "This is where the darkness lives, inside." The cave walls were covered with strange symbols that glowed faintly. At the center was a massive crystal pulsing with dark energy. From the shadows emerged the dark alien leader, his red eyes burning brighter than ever. He sneered, "You think you can stop me with jokes and laughter?" Ziva stepped forward, her light clashing against his darkness. Jack stood beside her, ready to fight. The battle was fierce. Light against shadow, hope against fear. Jack found strength in Ziva's laughter, a sound pure and strong. He shouted, "A joke," the words filling the cave. The dark alien faltered, his power weakening. Ziva reached the crystal and touched it, her light spreading like wildfire. The darkness shattered, broken into pieces by their laughter and courage. Silence filled the cave, then a gentle warmth spread through the air. Ziva smiled, tears shining in her eyes. "We did it," she said softly. "Laughter saved us all." Jack looked at her with new respect. The alien girl with the strange sense of humor had changed everything. Together, they walked out of the cave into the rising sun. A new day, full of hope and laughter, waiting for them both.